Okay, I've had a few questions on number 3. So guys, if you look at the series that they give you, it just says a sub n right here, so this means it could be any type of expression or function, and then it's x minus 3 to the nth power. It tells you it converges at x equals 5, and then which of these must be true. Some of these potentially could be true, but we have to know which one we definitely know for sure. So guys, remember, whenever you're doing interval of convergence, so you're figuring out where it converges, you always look at the center or the c value, and that always comes because it's x minus 3, the center is going to be 3. Okay? So, if we know it converges at 5, think about this. Here's just like a little number line. We know that the center is 3. Okay? Here is 5, and we know at 5 that it converges. So that's what we know. So, any number between 3 and 5 will have to converge. So if they would have given us 4 as an answer, it would have to converge. But they didn't give us 4, so that doesn't matter. So if we go the opposite way, so if we know 3, we know 4, 5, we know that, so let's put, this was a 4, we know that would have to converge. So if you go 1 over on this side, that means 2, which would mean that that 2 has to converge. But the reason is because possibly the other endpoint, let's say 5 was our endpoint here, that means 1 on the other side would be our endpoint. Okay, so think about this. 3 we know is the center, 5 we know converges. Let's just assume that 5 is the endpoint. It might be, it might not, but we know it converges, so we're just going to say this is the endpoint. Remember, at the endpoints it might converge, it might not. So that means that this 1 here is questionable. If that was an endpoint, this could converge, it could diverge. We don't have enough information to figure that out. So these are possible, but they're not like absolutely true. So if we were to take a look at 0 would fall, so it says diverges at 0. Well, that's here. So that's also questionable because if this wasn't an endpoint, then this potentially could diverge or converge. We don't really know for sure. And then, so this one is possible. We don't know. And then if you look at 6 is like in the same scenario where 0 is. We don't really have enough information. If this would have been the endpoint 5, then it would diverge, but we're not sure of that. This 6 could have been the endpoint. So this is also possible. So the only one we know for sure that is definitely converges is 2. And the only reason that we know that is because from 3 to 5, we know that that whole center, or that whole section converges around the center 3. So, and that means that this section over here would also have to converge. So because we know this 4 converges and this 2 converges, these two definitely converge. So D converges at x equals 2 is the only one that we know for sure that is true. Hopefully that helps.